Back, ladies and gentlemen, to yet again another tournament, of course, live here from the UMG studio. Of course, here for tonight's tournament, like I said, the $300 minimum 4v4 variant taking place here on February 22nd. It's myself, Lando Sanders, to guide you guys through the action. Of course, as always, had a little bit of a late start to tonight's tournament. Had a little bit of an issue with the friends list. Apologies for that, but the situation is kind of out of our control for the most part. But of course, kicking things off here in round number 1, we've got MAGIK eSports going up against the guys on EnterUprise. And really curious to see how this matchup does kind of come through. I've been really kind of heavily looking at both of these teams, especially the guys over at EnterUprise since the Prime that actually took place last Friday. These guys had a pretty surprising run, to say the least. They ended up taking down Era Eternity and managed to take a hardpoint off of Enigma 6 before losing that one in a map 3 fashion. Played very well, though, and I'm very curious to see what they can kind of do when it comes down to the respawn game, how they can kind of obviously improve on that. But known for their search and destroy, so they have some history when it comes down to that game mode. So right now, if you're already loading into this matchup, if you're on the side of MAGIK, really hoping you lock down the first hardpoint. Just realizing, kind of having that knowledge in the back of your mind that, hey, these guys are talented at search and destroy, so we have to be wary of that. This could easily turn into a 2-0 situation if we're not careful. And it looks like off the break, after the first hardpoint has even started to come underway, a 42-12 advantage. And growing right now for the boys on EnterZinx. Right now on his 6th spree, has earned 2 out of 3 of his streaks. And Artillery Barrage to potentially come here soon. Only needs about 200 points more. As the hardpoint starts to get contested, his teammates are watching over him. And kind of going back to that hardpoint where they actually took down Enigma 6 on. That one was broadcast. That one was actually live here. I got to cast over it. And really it was Zinx and Rain who were playing very, very well. As right now, you obviously see Zinx kind of leading the way at the moment. Like I said, very, very close toward those secondary streaks, as he will be calling in the fighter pilot to try to do some damage off of that rotation. This is actually very important for him to use this particular fighter pilot at this moment in time. The rotation coming in here toward bunker is absolutely massive. You see 3 players toward the back lines. Player number 7 actually doing some work right now. Beastly able to pick up 2. That is huge. He literally just broke the hardpoint by himself. No real teammate support, of course, besides the fighter pilot. But he's doing things on his own. And right now, Zinx is continuing on his spree at 9 kills in a row. Nearly makes it 10. I mean, you got to be worrying right now if you're MAGIK. I mean, these guys are, you know, a talented kind of group of players. When we talk about MAGIK and Flawless, these 2 guys were on Merkin Clan alongside, I think it was like Vicious and Jay Hayes, the original team. Doesn't work out with Jay Hayes. And I believe at that time, they were actually looking at picking up Tiny. I think for a few tournaments, I got to watch Tiny play alongside of the guys on Merkin, and I was really hoping that he could maybe kind of be on that team. He later formed on Exomoon for the very first event, actually, of the year in Dallas. Had a pretty interesting run. I think finished, I don't remember his exact placement, but I know his team ended up taking out Supremacy, who was the 2nd seed at that tournament, and that was a major shock for a lot of people, and he was kind of leading the way alongside his other 3. But I believe instead of picking Tiny up, for Merkin, I think they ended up picking up Ares in his place, and didn't really see a whole lot of success. I know Merkin hasn't really had the best placements of this year, and they're trying to kind of improve on that, but it looks like, of course, they have switched up their roster a little bit. Flawless, of course, the captain of that team, does provide a lot of leadership for a team like this. Been playing since the very beginning of Call of Duty, one of the original Optic members as well. So there's a lot of knowledge when it comes down to the scene, but really has to rely on some of his Slayers. And another veteran I haven't really been able to see for a very long time is Schillez, actually. For those who don't remember Schillez, of course, highly known for his Black Ops 2 play, actually finished first at the UMG Dallas 2013 Championship alongside Tito, John, and the late, great Fizzerp. Remember, they ended up taking down Sora Gaming in what was a very interesting series. So nice to see him kind of back on the sticks. I know he's been playing in a few of the open brackets throughout the year. So nice to see these guys kind of combining, but it looks like for right now, though, they are struggling to say the least, despite MAGIK and Tiny kind of going off for the squad. You see Flawless currently -6 at 4-10. You see Schillez at -5 right now, along with a 6-11 overall scoreline, but trying to bring it back inside a cave. Of course, the first rotations are done. They are through, but it was kind of a very sloppy start. If you are the guys from MAGIK, definitely want to kind of improve on that, but no one watching their front. That's, to me, kind of an error, because you have 2 guys looking at the exact same point of view. Your forest is wide open, and no one is there. Zinx making kind of, I don't want to say unnecessary, but for the other team's point of view, an unnecessary flank, one that should not even be possible. He's making it happen. He's literally 20-9 right now on a 4 spree, looking to try and take down Tiny as well off that backside spawn, coming through bunker. That can definitely be good when it comes down to that 3rd hard point, but for the one that matters the most right now inside a cave, It seems that early fights are beginning to happen. Rain trying to do some work, has to back up, and really has no teammate support. It looks like it will be Zinx, who's a little bit late off that rotation. But right now, those blue arrows, a.k.a. the boys on MAGIK, desperately needing to bring themselves back into this. Nearly a 100-second advantage. It looks like off the spawn, off of that last kind of big rotation inside a cave, a victory won in the hill. We'll see what MAGIK can try to do as far as picking things up. Actually, a smoke toss through you. Tiny watching the opposite angle. But he's really got no one to watch over for. Really, it's just about KiSMET gets the worst time possible. Now U is open. Their front is open as well. And there goes the floodgates. It's the boys from EnterUprise making it look easy. And to be honest, they do get some unfortunate timing. Probably if Tiny in that position, you see Zinx dodging the fighter pilot for as long as he possibly could. MAGIK having a pretty decent game, so does earn some streaks along the way. But really just kind of unfortunate timing in that last situation there for MAGIK. Once Tiny drops in that situation, he would probably like to have like a secondary AR or a secondary player behind him, but generally it just doesn't go that way. There's two players kind of looking toward the front. They both drop at the same time. Really just bad timing, so I will kind of give them that. But at the same time, it's almost like EnterUprise are kind of walking through them and kind of just stepping over them in some cases. But along with that, though, you do see Flawless 6-16, Schillez 9-17. Both these guys, without question, struggling for the time. Yet again, making a rotation. So keeping in mind, last two hard points there here for the early rotation. And take a look at the kill feed. Instantly, 4 go down. Just a beautiful break coming in from the guys on EnterUprise. And while it is impressive, it's also just kind of a lack of awareness from MAGIK because they're just not winning their gunfights. It's just maybe the timing, the communication isn't really there. But it's just really off the back of a poor slaying performance from 2 out of your 4 players. I mean, it's kind of a consistent 2v4 that's really taking place, and this is just starting to kind of get out of hand, to be honest with you. 211-80. Hardpoint coming through the back, as it looks like it will be MAGIK trying to clean up these last few seconds, trying to put those on the scoreboard. But it looks like the smoke strategy still coming out here for the boys on MAGIK. Probably would prefer them once East Road pops up to put on a stun, maybe even a regular grenade at that, but really just needing to get some solid hard points off the bat as it looks like they're trying to earn some information. Flawless, after kind of sitting in this backstacks area, it looks like he will be smoked out, along with some stuns as well, just absolutely overwhelming this backstack side. As you're going to see what the guys from EnterUprise are really trying to do at the moment is try to get them forcing out toward that back bridge side, which they aren't fully aware of. And right now, if I'm Flawless, I'm trying to distract as much as possible. Act as if I'm more than one player, because as long as he's distracting, his teammates can kind of come through the back. As it looks like Schillez, Flawless both die. MAGIK, though, is able to find 2. So at least is able to kind of provide somewhat of a dent in the overall setup, but generally, it's just a matter of MAGIK just kind of walking into head glitches, walking into chest high cover, and really just not having any success from it. I mean, they've been on the rotation. It's not as if the rotations just aren't there. It's just the gun skill's lacking for whatever reason. And it looks like toward the end of the game, Flawless starting to play a little bit better. Now only -7, and Schillez, though, currently double negative. Have to improve on that if you want to advance yourself in the tournament. But let's talk about 2 guys really be looking out for when it came down to this first respawn. We're both Rain and Zinx. This time around, though, it's Zinx and KiSMET, both finishing off in the 30-kill margin. I think 33-18, I want to say. That might have been for KiSMET. Regardless, though, play incredibly sound, very, very strong. And like I said, guys who are known at their search and destroy game, it's going to be a little bit worrying, to say the least, as you see the bronze start coming in for MAGIK. Nice dolphin dive through those cabin stairs to try to get one on the board. But like I said, this one ends in a pretty dominant fashion, 250 to just 106 points. As, like I said, Flawless, Schillez, not at all having a performance that they'd like to replicate anytime soon. But you also take a look and see, like, right, Beastly finishes off 10-18. But look at the difference that he's providing for his team compared to someone else. Like, Flawless, of course, finishes off 12-20. Maybe like 45 seconds inside of the hill. Like, not really that solid of a performance. I think it was, actually, no, it was just 15 seconds for Flawless. But on the other end, though, you see a guy like Beastly who finishes off in a very strong performance, has 2 minutes inside of the hill. So it's kind of people realizing what's most important when it comes down to their hardpoint game. If they're not playing well, let me focus my, attention toward a different facet of the game. Probably, more of an objective, as we can kind of take a look here quickly at the kind of second breakdown when it came down to the hardpoints. As you see, basically every single one was dominated. Of course, Cave off the break was pretty much a one-sided showing, along with Ruins, Bunker, basically kind of the same way. Only hill that was close was on East Road, which was the only 7-second advantage for the guys on MAGIK. But generally, though, throughout this hard point. Like I said, it really wasn't a matter of the issue with like MAGIK not rotating. It really was a facet of them not winning their gunfights, and their setups getting broken pretty easily. So if I'm MAGIK right now, what I really want to do after this tournament concludes, whether or not they advance to the next round or not, which definitely is not looking likely at this point, but go into the team comps and just work on your hardpoint setups, because that is the major issue that really was displaying itself in that first hardpoint, was a matter of them setting up for ruins, setting up for bunker, and just having their setup be broken in a matter of moments. It wasn't like a 1v1 went a different way. I mean, they were just kind of getting destroyed. And it's kind of fair to say. And maybe it's the guys in EnterUprise who just have a solid or a more solid hardpoint game. They just kind of know what to do. But it's kind of a worrying factor, right? If you're both MAGIK and Flawless at this point, you obviously haven't had the best start to World War II playing for Merc, and I know they had a top 100 type placement at one of the first events. They kind of want to get that off their record and want to kind of have a fresh start and move forward. But they're not really seeing much more success than their prior roster. So I'm not really sure what the major issue with them is, or what really kind of is the problem. But like I said, we see MAGIK and Tiny both kind of pick up the pace. They played very well throughout this first hardpoint, excuse me. But you have to have a whole team effort. You have to have a consistent team performance, whether or not the slang's there or not. Have players be focusing on different facets of the game. Be working on not search and destroy, but be working on that objective, whatever it may be, because it definitely was not a team effort when it came down to Arn Forest. So now looking on, though, for map number 2, will be search and destroy on USS Texas. I know I've talked about it time and time again. This team of EnterUprise, you do not want to mess with them when it comes down to search and destroy. They're known for this game mode, at least a few of the players are. I've heard of Zinx, I've heard of KiSMET, known for their S&D gameplay. It's going to be a rough time, to say the least. I think that this will be a chance for MAGIK to kind of even the score on a map like USS Texas. It's easier to trade if you utilize smokes, which is what they were doing quite a bit throughout the hardpoint, which is kind of surprising to me. I saw Tiny with smokes. I think even at times EnterUprise was utilizing them as well. But utilize the smokes to get the bomb down. You have a solid sniper rifle. I believe in Tiny he utilizes that one quite a bit of the time. If they can find first bloods, use the SMGs to kind of get up close in the face of the guys in Enter, they can definitely make something happen, but it's going to be difficult. This is kind of like where you're hoping after map 1 ends, and it's like, okay, well, MAGIK, they have that safety blanket. They can at least count on a map 3, but now they don't even have that. So a lot kind of on the opposite end. We'll see how MAGIK can respond, of course. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the $300 minimum 4v4 variant, of course, taking place here on February 22nd. It's now time for map number 2 of our current round 1 matchup, taking place between MAGIK and EnterUprise. It's now time for some USS Texas search and destroy. If we know anything about this map, it's time for some snipers. And it looks like the M19 being utilized here from MAGIK off the start. Usually this is a weapon that I'm pretty sure I would say is in the hands of Tiny quite a bit of the time. But it looks like MAGIK doing some work with it. And I think might have nearly found the third. Might have got a hit marker there on Beastly. Not exactly sure, but when it comes down to this map, like I said, it's an easier time, I think, for MAGIK. It will not be an easy task, to say the least, but when it comes down to a matchup like this, versing off against a solid search and destroy team, I always say variant teams probably would prefer to play on USS Texas. It's about trading, utilizing the snipers, smokes to kind of get the objective down, kind of components where you don't have to know the search and destroy game mode like through in and throughout. So with that in mind, though, Rain finding himself in a 1 versus 3, comes around the corner, has spotted Tiny, but the Tiny will get the gunfight figured out all by himself, not having any issues here at the end, and actually rocking the bar. So pretty not surprising to see this weapon be brought out, but I know there actually is a patch coming out tomorrow with a lot of changes regarding ADS kind of sprint out speeds, some assault rifles being tuned, as well as the SMGs. I think the MP40 is receiving a buff. The FG42 was kind of getting brought down a bit, so I know a lot of the competitive fans are extremely excited for that alongside myself. So when it comes down to future tournaments, excited to see some maybe different weapons being utilized. But looks like KiSMET, though, for the opposite end here for EnterUprise. Rocking the sniper rifle, not spotting anyone for the time. But looks like objective being brought up toward A, and you, of course, see those smokes being tossed out off the beginning, and the reason why we see those is to try to limit the sniper rifle. If we can actually go to Tiny's point of view really quick, player number 3, does he have that sniper rifle? So yeah, so actually it looks like he does pick off Beastly. Despite getting the plant down, he'll find 2. Needing 2 more, though, for the ace. Currently 5-0 is this man Tiny. Was surprised that he wasn't utilizing the sniper rifle off the start, but just goes to show how talented he could be with this weapon, seeking out the ace. As he has the chance to try to take out Zinx, but it's not going to be there. MAGIK is now left in a 1v1 after taking out Rain, with the objective only having 13 more seconds. It's about whether or not Zinx can find him. Where is he lingering? Where could he be at? And it looks like MAGIK will be there to find the kill. But in the end, it won't be a defuse, so the round will go the way of EnterUprise. And this is just overall a pretty surprising situation because it's Tiny who literally finds the first 2 kills off the start. I mean, literally finds the first 2 to kind of break open the site after the plant goes down. I want to say it's Schillez who, like, randomly goes and challenges something, ends up dying, and then players start to kind of get picked off to where it's a player who's left all by himself. It's MAGIK left in a 1v2, and granted, he kind of clutches it, but he doesn't get anything from it. And that's just kind of a situation where they have the advantage. I think that's like a 4v2 or something along those lines, if not a 3v2. And they kind of challenge and go off in 1v1 engagements, and they lose them. Just rather unfortunate play. I think that they kind of had it in the bag. I think they could be up 2-0 right now if it was just played smarter. And now loading into round number 3, we see the 2 guys who are playing very solid in hardpoint. Continuing on, Tiny and MAGIK combining right now for 8-1. As it looks like shots being exchanged, MAGIK trying to watch over his teammate Flawless, actually tries to back up and has no teammate kind of communication. I mean, he is in a gunfight, but there's no one to trade it, right? Tiny's here now, but there was no one originally there to get the job done. As Rain, he'll pick up 2. He escapes out. The call-out should be giving into Flawless. And Flawless does take down Rain. As Tiny does take out 1, it now is going to be Beastly left in a 1v2. Has an idea where 1 is, and Tiny's still lingering with that sniper rifle, probably a little bit angry that he wasn't able to earn those streaks. And right now, honestly, if you're the guys from Market, you need to get the objective down. Okay, I wasn't actually sure. I was like, wait, is Flawless getting the plant down or not? But objective has been planted. Beastly spawning out. Flawless gets a little bit too many hit markers in that situation. Probably 1 more, and this one's done, and that's exactly why. Thank you for the headshot. Flawless does get picked off. So now a 1v1, Tiny versus Beastly. Only 6 shots in that bar, and he won't be able to utilize any of them. As Tiny continuing on to be a nuisance with this sniper, and just overall smart play coming in from Tiny. Maybe questionable play coming from his teammate Flawless, just kind of, you know, hopping around to the bomb site, and literally is so weak that he's still kind of going up and down and was able to kind of get 1 shot in that situation. But still, Tiny was there to kind of watch over the site, and despite being 8-1, still not up to those streaks as of yet. I guess it did die earlier on those, so probably a little bit frustrated, but looking on, it looks like KiSMET swapping off of the sniper, and now back with the bar in hand, looking over toward the B site to maybe watch a little bit of a flank, or maybe try to clear out the side a little bit as the smokes are out yet again. Like I said, to try to limit the sniper rifle play that came in from Tiny last round as he gets eliminated actually from Rain. As it looks like it will be a 2v2 situation. Beastly able to pick up the objective in this situation now. Flawless just happens to peek around at the worst time possible. This is going to give Beastly probably a flanking opportunity as the pinch comes forward. Good play for Rain to try and stay up. And now it Schillez. 1v2 has an idea as to where these players could be lingering. Peeks out, and I believe he has the advantage. Peeker's advantage. And he didn't know where he was. And based off that position, he probably doesn't know that both of them are back there. He might be under the impression that that was one player who might be trying to advance toward that position, but can't win the gunfight. Can't win that 1v1. And I want to say, was that the player who had the objective? Was that Beastly who had the bomb in his hands? I think it was. So in some cases, if Schillez wins that fight, or let's say that it's not the objective guy, because of course, if it was objectives down, he has an idea to look at the bomb, he probably wins the round. But let's say it's not. Let's say the objective's in the back lines. He's now in a perfect position to kind of check either site within a moment's notice, kind of wait maybe till like that 6-7 second mark. Check around the bomb sites. So maybe if his teammates were able to stay up, or just a few more different opportunities, it could have been a round in the bag there for Market. However, not going to be the case. And now looking off the start, a pretty passive play here from our offensive side. You can see EnterUprise is a little bit curious as to what's going on. KiSMET kind of rounding the corner. I believe player number 7, Zinx, exchanging some shots inside of bottom. But Flawless, big first blood, especially when it comes down to offense, as at least so far throughout this game, we talk about first bloods. 4 out of the 5 first bloods have came actually from the boys on Market, despite it being 2-2. We'll see if that first blood here from Flawless can lead to a round victory along with an advantage in this game. As they're continuing to play this game passively, they've only got 28 seconds left, and they have to be wary. They have to keep the man count up. They have the positions. They can watch every single point of view, whether it's front, the flank. As KiSMET will escape with his life, a beautiful kind of long-range bait situation coming in from KiSMET along with Beastly, playing the man disadvantage very well as Flawless trying to escape and to give that call to KiSMET, and KiSMET's very wary because he's got to be thinking that, hey, anyone could challenge this at any moment, but no one's here. It's just Flawless by himself. MAGIK in the back lines needs to join alongside of his teammate as they're going to start to line up. However, Flawless is there to be finding one, and now Zinx left in a 1v3 situation. Got an awkward spot to be in as this should be a round secured, but a little bit of a dent gets put in the overall setup. Despite Schillez and co. from the set of MAGIK grabbing a round along with the advantage. So kind of some interesting rounds. I mean, that was a round where we get to witness the guys from MAGIK play pretty passive, right? They kind of sit in the back of the base. They're able to find the first blood thanks to Flawless's original kill. And they kind of play passively off of that. And I'm not sure if it's just them kind of realizing what's going on in the search and destroy as far as we can't really face off against them in head-to-head fights, or if it was just a matter of just changing up the strats and whatnot. But still, though, changing up the game plan. As it looks like speaking of game plans, EnterUprise maybe taking a page out of the book. As Beastly will hop onto the bomb site, keeping in mind they're throwing out the smoke for a sniper, which is TTiny right now. TTiny in the back lines with that sniper rifle, trying to maybe fire off a shot just to see him reload the M19. Missed. That sniper bullet whistled past the ear of one of the EnterUprise players. Now goes for the re-challenge. Trying to take out Rain. And I like this position, being very wary of that top control side, trying to watch over for his teammate. As it looks like Rain is there to take out Schillez, and it looks like TTiny going to go for the sneak defuse here. And it looks like MAGIK is watching over and finds one, tries to find a few more. The smart dolphin dive comes through there for Zinx. And now it's Flawless left in a 1v2 situation versus Rain and KiSMET. Only a few seconds left to work with. And he is not anywhere near. And, of course, smart play coming in from Flawless, realizing how close he is to Streaks. And if he can actually hop on this top box area, he can watch over the site. But looks like he's not content with trying to even have an opportunity like that. So smart play coming in the end there from EnterUprise. They kind of sacrifice a man to try to hop on the to try to take out the man going for the defuse, which of course was TTiny. As you can see, even at certain moments from MAGIK, like where they look like they're in control, it's just kind of awkward play. Like TTiny goes for the defuse, no one's really watching over him. Flawless is kind of on the back lines and kind of rotates toward the other side of the map once he realizes the round's over. Like, well, I understand that play and whatnot. It's just, I feel like these rounds can be so much easier for MAGIK if these things were maybe kind of cleaned up or tidied up a little bit. But Schillez, though, continuing to have struggles right now. 1-4, as it looks like another first blood does get found here for MAGIK. Moving that objective here toward the B bomb site, and they're getting lucky with these nades, right? I mean, they're finding kills. As Schillez does find one. Beastly now left in a 1v4. First two kills come from pre-nades, or not pre-nades, but the first one was a pre-nade. Second one, not really sure where that one kind of came from, but around here for EnterUprise, where they really didn't even stand a chance at really any point in this one. As Beastly will get taken down here shortly by Mr. TTiny. Or he should. Okay. All right. There you go. Just say, like, is he trying to toy with them? Is he, like, going to try to melee him in the back lines? This isn't CSGO. You don't get extra points for meleeing or stabbing. That'd actually be kind of a cool feature, though, if it was. I would appreciate that, if that was actually a thing. But there's no real, like, what do you get? Like, just extra score toward your score streaks? I don't know. Maybe. I think it'd be cool. Who knows? Render rate, though, underway as it will be EnterUprise. Now on the offense. Got to watch them play a little bit more passively toward the beginning of their last round as they've been tossing out countless smokes toward the A-bomb site. It looks like a stun maybe was there for KiSMET. Decided to hold off on it, though. Utilizes it and actually hits someone, I believe, right in the face with it. It's coming forward as it looks like Rain this time, getting the advantage, shutting down Tiny. But here comes Schillez along with the streaks from above. Does do at least a little bit of damage. I think that might have earned some hit markers, potentially on a few players. But Schillez, up close and personal. Thankfully has Flawless watching his back lines, but they have to be wary. The streaks, they get utilized. Coming in from Flawless, and he's very close to the artillery barrage, using the default scope on the bar. I've not seen that in a while. As MAGIK now left in a 1v2 situation, and they lose the round after utilizing streaks. As you can see, Rain coming with it. What, is this a hat trick? Is this a three-piece? I think it is. And I don't know, like, I'm just... like, MAGIK are obviously playing well in this game because they're up... I mean, the game's tied up 4-4, but I'm just not content with, like, some of the strats that we're seeing. I mean, I don't know. It's just the factor of kind of pushing up someone. I mean, you have streaks, right? In my mind, I would kind of wait to utilize those once you have site control, if not wait to use it on an offense. I feel like it's much more viable to kind of utilize on offense, but hey, it's a lot easier to say from the concaster's point of view. It's just kind of, I don't know, interesting play. I just really feel like if certain plays or certain 1v1s were taken, I feel like this could be like a 6-2, 6-3 game already. Keeping in mind, they have found 5 out of the 8 first bloods. We'll see if that advantage can grow and or diminish. Is Tiny making some pretty big map control. Hello to the headshot. As he'll tell KiSMET, I'll see you next round. And you notice, for the guys on MAGIK, despite finding the first blood, playing passive, trying to make the guys in EnterUprise play up, trying to catch them off guard. You see a little bit of map control gain from Tiny. Immediately he's able to fire upon it, as it looks like Beastly does find one quickly, though. Gets traded up from Flawless. Schillez able to try to find one. Rain's there for the trade. So 1v2. Has no idea. Flawless just pulling it off to his right now as he gets the indicator. Has the awareness, but I love the positioning from Tiny. Literally on the... Nice shot from Flawless there. But I like the positioning from Tiny as well. And this is what we've seen a few times throughout this game. It's either Flawless or I think it's even been MAGIK at times. Once they plant on this side over here at B, it's Tiny who's watching over them from either side with that sniper rifle. Of course, a pretty common spot, but it's just overall great awareness from them to get the plant down, immediately have that position advantage. That even if Flawless was to drop in that situation, it's Tiny who has a great line sight, probably already has like a PPSH or a bar in his back pocket after picking it up from one of the fallen players in this round. And now possess the 5-4 round advantage. Tiny right now has found 4 first bloods for his team. As it looks like the fighter pilot getting ready to come from the skies, having to try and take some cover, though. As Tiny finds one off the break. Adding toward his 5th. Here comes the nade. Has to be very careful, ZinX. And I was going to say, if that nade... If ZinX takes out Tiny a few seconds, or maybe even a half a second before that round, that's a team kill. That's where Tiny probably kills, and it probably at least gets a few hit markers on his enemies, or his teammates, rather. As Rain, last person alive, Flawless. Having a very solid game. When it comes down to this map number 2, we'll finish off 10-5 at a fuse. And on a 4 spree. Solid play coming in from the guys on MAGIK. So I got to say, I really thought this one would be over. However, I did kind of preface that with I think this is probably one of the better search and destroys that if you are on the side of MAGIK, you could really ask for, just because of the ability to kind of utilize those sniper rifles. I was kind of discussing as well the smoke play that we got to witness them utilize as well. But really, I mean, we want to talk about highlights. Tiny is a human highlight reel when it comes down to having that sniper rifle, especially here on USS Texas. Like I said, I was like, kind of surprised. I was like, okay, we're seeing MAGIK kind of rock the sniper rifle off the start. You know, maybe that'll continue, maybe it won't. But like I said, Tiny, just unbelievable player when it comes down to sniper rifle from time to time. But of course, take a look here at the overall round scoreboard. Pretty interesting kind of scoreline. We see it go back and forth countless times as of course, toward the end, it's finally an advantage toward the boys on MAGIK. Saw a few different things, whether it was time limit, overall kills, or bomb being destroyed. We do see the boys on MAGIK be able to kind of secure things here at 6 rounds to 4. So now kind of looking on, as it's been Tiny who's been having a pretty solid performance, whether when it came down to map number 1 and map number 2. What can he do here when it comes down to some CTF over on Flag Tower? I remember actually taking a look at the Prime tournament from last Friday, which of course both these teams were involved in. But speaking more on the guys on EnterUprise, they were actually having a series versus Era Eternity, where they were down actually 4-1 on London Dock CTF. They ended up making a full-on comeback on the second side. I think one player had like a glide bomb. That was literally it. They had one glide bomb, one streak. They ended up making a 4-1 comeback on the next side to take that map and to advance themselves into the next round. So one thing about EnterUprise, you obviously cannot kind of halt yourself on them. If they're down, they're not out by any means. And I think they actually ended up having a CTF on Arden Forest versus Enigma 6 as well, where that one probably should have gone the opposite end, where Enigma 6 was having a very strong performance off the break. You kind of see the guys from EnterUprise at times are having a little bit of kind of spotty play, like they're just, the setups weren't necessarily always there, but they end up having some really clutch moments. They, I think, bring it into overtime. Enigma 6 ends up closing it out, but at times it looked a little bit scary. So when it comes to EnterUprise on CTF, they can be, you know, to the point where they're very clutch. So I think when it comes to MAGIK's point of view, they have to be very wary of that. No lead is safe when it comes down to any game mode, especially Flak Tower, where it can be kind of very back and forth. Streaks are obviously useful, but Flak Tower, everyone knows how it plays. It can kind of be very spotty, a lot of gunfights happening at a lot of different times. Streaks are obviously very possible on this map, and really if you have one player who's going off, and what I really noticed a lot in the Prime tournament, is a lot of teams really kind of feeding off of having teammates start to go on streaks. It was a Hitman for one squad, it was Dashy for another. They were kind of going on streaks, and what they were doing was just kind of holding the enemy's mid-building, and once that happens, they're just sitting there, kind of going back and forth, different point of views in the building, checking the right lane, checking the left lane through mid, and they're just having a free-roaming, free-reign time. So you can kind of have that middleized kind of position toward the enemy spawn. They don't really move, and that's the issue when it comes to Flat Tower, where it's also a negative but also a positive at times, is that you can kind of spawn trap the enemy team, but if you're also trying to grab the flag, it also becomes a problem because the enemy team is spawning there over and over and over again, meaning that you have to totally like clear them out of the base in order to try to get that flag out. It can be very difficult at times, but it is possible, and obviously it should be a pretty interesting one to watch. Of course, speaking of the guys on Market that do possess a lot of that kind of veteranship, we talk about MAGIK, we talk about Schillez, Flawless, especially veteranship. When it comes to the CTF, you got to have a lot of kind of communication going, got to have positive communication as far as chemistry as well. A lot of factors coming into a CTF, kind of a combination of hardpoint and search and destroy alike. EnterUprise, they're a good team. However, though, you can't really pay for veteranship. You don't really, it's not a quality that you can, you know, kind of get in a moment's notice. You can't grind and just have it automatically. It's about kind of possessing that over a few different titles, which is, you know, obviously a very interesting quality that the guys on Market do possess. If there's guys to be looking out for Market, I think it's definitely going to be MAGIK and TTiny. These guys have been going off when it comes down to the respawns. One player, though, that I think for Market, if they want to win this game, at least has to have like an even to semi-solid performance, is Schillez. Slow search and destroy, at least off the start. Very slow hard point. I don't remember exactly how many kills he had, but he was at least double negative toward one of the last hard points. A major factor is the reason why Hardpoint on Arden Forest went the way of EnterUprise in such a dominant fashion. EnterUprise ended up taking that one 250 to 106. And I speak on the guys of Market who needs to really go off. For EnterUprise, I think we're going to see a solid performance coming in from Zinx. He's been pretty much a solid player in that game mode from prior tournaments that I've witnessed. And really have to be wary of both Rain and KiSMET. Both these guys can also kind of put on strong performances. We've seen KiSMET have a pretty good game when it came down to the hardpoint as well. Him and Zinx kind of led the way. So I think there's a few players for EnterUprise to be looking at, but really for Market, I think the ball's in their court. I think they can definitely close this one out. It's going to be difficult, and I'm going with EnterUprise in the CTF. But like I said, if we see solid performances, kind of utilizing that slow gameplay that they were kind of possessing in that last search and destroy on USS Texas, making the enemy come to them, which it looks like is what we're seeing off the start. And if you can see a solid performance coming from Schillez, those are the keys to victory here for Market, leading in towards some flag towers. It looks like a Flawless already in the base. Going to be grabbing the flag off the start. Can't do much more than that, as it will be Beastly and KiSMET who do successfully hold their base. As if this was London Docks, that'd probably be a cap, to be honest with you. But flag tower, a little bit different. Harder to get the enemy to spawn out, as you're going to see a lot of teams have solid team pushes, but it's about having a consistent kind of dominance over the map. You know, kind of making your way past the 50-yard line, past the 30-yard line, past the 10-yard line, like kind of slowly but surely making your way toward that objective, and then getting kind of like a quick 2-3 down, maybe earning some streaks to try to cause issues in the back of the enemy base. And also be looking out for players to be playing passively if they're on these streaks. Right now, TTiny on a 3 spree. If I'm him, I back up, play my life, play my streaks. Does exactly do that. So if you get like a fighter pilot or even an artillery barrage, I mean, that can just totally spell disaster for the opposition. As it will be MAGIK trying to lead the way. Schillez from the opposite end needs to win this gunfight, but a clean 4 down. As it will be the boys from EnterUprise now with their opportunity to make their way up through the map. 4 players making their way through every single lane. However, it's the left side that they're preferring for the start. MAGIK coming in from one angle. Rain going to be here. Tries to grab the objective, has no teammate support, and just like that, Zinx, last man up, trying to delay anything that he possibly can, but 4 down for the opposite end, and 4 down now here for EnterUprise. It's back and forth we go. Both teams trying to gain this map control. And Schillez at least having a strong start in CTF. I mean, you can just see the overall difference that he's making. He was the factor and the reason why we saw such a strong kind of beginning for the guys on MAGIK. He holds that right lane pretty solidly and at least finds a kill. And he's probably the reason why this flag is out right now. Flag grab from Tiny, making his way forward, is on a 4 spree. Every time he finds kills with this, or if he's even able to score it, adds a lot more toward his overall score streaks. As Schillez watching over his teammate, and just like that, a flag goes through from MAGIK. I talked about it. Team support, if all of them are playing consistently. Of course, MAGIK right now 2-5, not the best example, but still, if you're seeing an overall kind of solid performance, finding kills, I think they end up finding 4 down, progressively make their way up to the map. They wait for the enemy off spawn to make a mistake. Once that happens, a flag opportunity is there, and they're able to obviously score one for it. So with that, defending their base valiantly is MAGIK for the time. Player number 1, though, Schillez, has made it behind enemy lines for the moment. And if they're able to find a kill here, once player number 8 dies, which actually KiSMET does not, I would say if KiSMET probably dies in that situation, the streaks are probably good to go. They'll probably end up rocking them, but Flawless is able to drop 2. KiSMET, though, trying to stop this push whatever he possibly can, but Flawless finds 3, ends up dropping in the enemy base. Zinx is there to try to stop this push for as much as he can. We see the players in the back of the base spawn up just in the nick of time to cancel out that flag grab. And right now, if you're Beastly, didn't really check too many corners. I mean, obviously gets to the middle of the map, but doesn't gain a whole lot of information for his squad, so they're a little bit blind right now. They don't really know where the opposition is coming from, as that's going to lead MAGIK to grabbing the flag. Trying to be in the enemy base. Narrowly takes out Tiny, but it's not going to be there. MAGIK ends up falling in a big win there for KiSMET. Finds the 1v1. Also gets the flag return. I was just saying that situation from Beastly, he has the opportunity to kind of sit back, gain some information, but kind of solo rushes his way through mid-map. I think that's the reason why we see MAGIK grab the flag in that situation, because they have no information as to what's happening in this game or in that particular situation. And a flag obviously gets brought out from it. Thankfully, KiSMET was there to find a 1v1 that kind of changes things. But Tiny, coming from the sky, pulls at the fighter pilot, does a little bit of damage toward the base, and now this is a very scary situation as 3 do fall. Zinx, the last man alive, trying to stay up for as much as he possibly can. But take a look at this spawn. Coming in through middle, player number 6 is going to be Beastly. Is able to drop one, however, does get traded. Rain, in a very interesting situation, ends up dropping it. Now MAGIK should be good potentially for the flag. And it looks like that one will be scored in here at the last second. A 2-0 advantage for the boys on MAGIK eSports. Despite MAGIK being 3-7. Take a look at his teammates for the... All right, we don't need to take a look at it for very long. But, I mean, you can kind of see his teammates are having just such a strong performance. He realizes what his role is. Solidly playing the objective. And the reason why I think we see MAGIK up right now is just because of their team play. Once they find kills, you can see them making a full kind of 4-man rush, all lanes covered. Schillez is having a more strong performance, so one lane that normally wasn't finding kills now is. He's currently sitting at 13-7. And kind of like that one play that we've seen from Beastly, like I said, where he makes his way through mid-map, doesn't gain a whole lot of information for his team. That just kind of comes down to veteran search and destroy play. And you know, granted, he probably won't do that play again. Just might have just done it by accident. May just be kind of muscle memory to just try to do something along those lines. That just is the difference between teams like this, is just the ability to have that knowledge in your mind. Hey, I shouldn't push up the map right now. Kind of realizing player counting and whatnot. Definitely comes into play. But as rain drops in the base, you see lanes being pushed up. Big gunfight inside a middle map. KiSMET ends up winning that. So once that kill goes through, once KiSMET finds that fight, This could be Schillez, player number 4 of MAGIK, making his way to the left side of the map, and also that player who ends up dropping through mid. That's a full 3-man rush into the base. That could have spelled disaster, but it's a big 1v1 that goes through to kind of cancel things. That just goes to show on CTF Flag Tower, one push, one kill like that totally ruins the setup. It totally ruins what could have been a flag grab. But of course, speaking along those lines, things have now kind of turned the tide. Looks like KiSMET will be the current flag grabber. Tries to go for the challenge on MAGIK, but there's no one there to kind of follow up on it. It looks like ZinX is there, thankfully, to try to make something happen, but it looks like MAGIK ends up dropping. ZinX is still here. He's on the run. He's got player number 5 watching over him, but it's Schillez holding the point of view. Rain is trying to be there, but ends up dropping. And now it's a matter of, can we get the grab or not? Goes for the Dolphin Dive. It will be flawless, along with the streak usage from above that will cancel out that scoring opportunity. A solid play coming in from MAGIK. Granted, while they don't get a whole lot much from it, they at least stop a flag opportunity from going in. Rain, KiSMET, not content with that last play as 4 go down. They have the opportunity to go for this. As long as they make their way through the flank. Rain not pre-aiming. Didn't ADS coming around that corner. Loses the fight. Takes down Schillez. And they end up dropping it. I know it's such a little thing that kind of coming around that corner, but I really feel like you should be kind of pre-aiming when you have to realize that, hey, the Smolder are probably back there. They're probably rushing out immediately. But still, kind of little plays from EnterUprise that just kind of aren't being watched. I mean, granted, when you're 2v4ing in the base, especially on flat tower, it can already be difficult, but I don't know. I feel like you got to play a little more passively than that. I feel like they got a little bit too over-aggressive, and it just doesn't work out for them. And MAGIK, though, could play a little bit spoiler. Position does get revealed, so not really going to accomplish much in that situation. But 2-minute warning in this CTF. Current advantage toward the side of MAGIK as they're up by a pair. And right now, if you're EnterUprise, you've got to be a little bit worried. As the player count, as your teammates start to fall, you've got to be questioning yourselves a little bit. Maybe some over-aggression could be shown as Schillez making his way through the back lines. 22-14. Has his teammates still up in the base. It's player number 4. MAGIK, though, ends up dropping it right now. Like I said, if you're flawless, I feel like you back up. Doesn't end up doing that because I believe, yeah, okay, so his teammates weren't even up in the situation. So it really doesn't matter. Flawless ends up dying. No real negatives come from that. But in the situation for MAGIK, you have the advantage. Kind of park the bus, maybe kind of sit in that kind of 40-yard line position. Don't really have to move much farther than that. But they also have to be very wary at the same time, is that this kind of backside spawn can be very worrisome as ZinX tries to go for their initial flag grab. No one's there. Beastly tries to go for it as well. He ends up dropping a free 2-piece, nearly a 3-piece. Rain finds one, and now KiSMET, he's not there for the challenge. And that's kind of the thing of the story of this game. 3 different players go for the flag grab when they know at least one player is alive, and 2 of them end up dropping from it. I don't know, just kind of plays from EnterUprise that just are, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's just a matter of kind of veteran CTF, just kind of normal CTF plays. And these guys are obviously going to learn that as time goes on. This is good practice for them. Maybe going to go back and watch the VOD, realize what kind of went wrong in the CTF, of course, unless they can manage to pull out a little bit of a miracle, to say the least. But just different moments throughout this game. Kind of solo rushing through middle, having 3 players try to go for a grab when really nothing's going to be there. As it looks like we do see a rage quit coming in from ZinX, just kind of out of frustration. As Tiny literally feeling so confident he's going to kill his teammates. But at the end here, we see Schillez finish off 24-18. I made the prediction kind of coming in to this particular map, saying I thought EnterUprise is going to close it out. Really just off the bat that I thought Schillez wasn't going to play this well. I really didn't. I didn't think it was going to be an opportunity where it was like, okay, MAGIK, they're going to kind of slide consistently in the CTF. And really to my surprise, I went off. I didn't really go with my gut. I'm thinking, okay, CTF, these guys on MAGIK, they know what they're doing. They have some momentum coming from the search and destroy. I just really didn't think it was going to be there. I really didn't. And I obviously kind of went against my gut. Shouldn't have done that. But generally, I was just kind of surprised by EnterUprise's play. you know, I didn't get to watch them play too much against Era. Of course, that was on London Docks and Arden Forest, where they were able to face off against both Era Eternity and Enigma 6. Closed out the one versus Era, lost narrowly the one against Enigma 6. But here versus Market, you know, it's a different story. And I think Flak Tower, it just goes to show the reason why we don't see it be played very often in competitive is because it can play a little bit inconsistent, and it can really make you pay if you die in quick succession. You know, much like London Docks, some people will say that. That's obviously true as well. But this map in a different way, right? Because if you make a solo rush through middle, I mean, this map to me is so important because it's a fast-paced map, but it's also a map where you have to watch every single lane at a consistent rate, right? We were seeing EnterUprise make some rushes through middle that really weren't necessary, you know, where they weren't really checking their base. You can see the player counting just wasn't there. At, you know, times on offense where they would kind of make progression up the map, players would kind of solo rush for the flag instead of kind of waiting back. You know, different moments, like I said, where that kind of two piece I think comes in from MAGIK. He's just sitting inside of his base, just hot off a respawn, and two players just go for the grab, not even pre-aiming. They're just trying to get out of there to try to get a flag home. And even if they do get that flag home, they don't really have any team support. Like, you know, they don't really have a whole lot going for them. Along with that, we saw one play where there was like a 2v4 situation where two players kind of solo rush their way through the right side of the map and don't really get a whole lot done through that right side turret. Nothing really gets accomplished. So I feel like really if EnterUprise kind of goes back, watches this one over, I think they would have kind of realized a lot of the plays that really went wrong from them as far as, you know, just overall player positioning, you know, kind of solo rushes, players who were just kind of going for the objective rather than kind of slowly but surely progressing yourself up the map. I think once they kind of iron those things out, I think they could be a really kind of well-rounded team because they could be talented in hardpoint. Like, we definitely know that. Search and Destroy, I think they kind of get a bad situation here in USS Texas. I think they're a good Search and Destroy team. I haven't really been able to witness them actually win an S&D in the last two tournaments, including this one. But I think they could be a really talented Search and Destroy team just based off the players in the lineup here. And I think they could well-round their CTF. If they're having a slow day in Search and Destroy, having a slow day in hardpoint, it's never a bad, you know, kind of ace in your back pocket to have like a good CTF team. It's not really bad to kind of practice CTF a lot of the time. It can kind of be one of the game modes that goes unnoticed. It's kind of a game mode that teams tend to practice the least, just for obvious reasons. It's not fun to play CTF. It's just, I mean, for the most part, it's fun to watch, at least from my point of view. I really like casting over CTF and whatnot, but I know it can be a little bit stale. Like, okay, I died, 7.5 respawn delay, here we go. Like, I understand that, but at the same time, you know, you have to kind of practice it, have to realize situations, and the kind of consistency from Market that I was really asking for. It was like, come on, Schillez, come on, guys, like, Flawless, you really got to play consistent when it comes down to the respawns. They absolutely do. Those two kind of lead their way to the top of the scoreboard. The veteranship obviously plays off. You know, Flawless had a strong performance in the Search and Destroy, finishes off with 10 kills, kind of leads that way here into the respawn. But Schillez, though, he was kind of filling in his role, kind of getting back to the old, you know, maybe Black Ops 2 type of style where he obviously succeeded in quite a bit. He was definitely lacking in the hard point and beginning of the Search and Destroy, but really kind of to pick things up. So I'm not sure if it was just maybe the callouts, things starting to feel kind of back to normal, having a good squad who knows the roles and kind of what to do when it comes down to progressing up the map. But generally, though, this one obviously does go the way of the boys on Market as they will now progress here after winning CTF here on Rain, or it's not on Rain, on Flak Tower. Speaking of Rain, though, they're actually going to be facing off against that team in our next round. I think that's actually semifinals, if my mind serves me correctly. So yeah.
Everything is new to me, sleepless in a distant dream, slowing up the speed of time. Don't let me crash down tonight. I just wanna feel what I feel